Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Mobile VR Reviews. I'm your host, Guy Manspeed, and today I'll be doing a head-to-head comparison of the two big space shooters on GearVR, Anshar Wars 2 and EndSpace. Both of these games focus on mission-based space combat, but beyond that, exactly how similar are they, and which one is right for you? Anshar Wars 2 was developed by a studio called Osway Games and released in December 2015, and received a major update in April 2016 which added support for multiple languages and multiplayer. It was later released for the Oculus Rift in June 2016. Fun fact, both GearVR and Rift versions of Anshar Wars 2 are available for $9.99, but purchasing it on one platform will automatically unlock the game on the other. EndSpace was created by a solo developer under the studio name of Orange Bridge Studios. EndSpace was released in April 2016 and received a major update in August 2016, which introduced such things as graphical improvements and new control schemes. EndSpace is currently available for the GearVR for $7.99, but a Rift, Vive, and PlayStation VR version are also in the works, as well as a Google Daydream version and multiplayer support, but no word yet on when you should expect those. First, some basic similarities. Both of these games are full, complete, multi-level games, not just tech demos. Both games are mission-based, that is, you begin the level with objectives such as destroy all enemies, destroy specific targets, collect items, or protect allies. In both games, you're an unnamed ace pilot for a military organization, and you are in control of a starfighter that can boost, break, and is armed with several different weapons. And that's sort of where the similarities end. Anshar Wars 2 is a story-driven game. You work for the Ansharian Empire, and are tasked with defending it against the Nergal through 13 single-player missions. The story is advanced through spoken dialogue in mission briefings, as well as radio chatter before, during, and after the missions. You control one of 3 ships, and in some cases can switch ships mid-fight, but cannot change the weapon loadout. The gameplay is very fast and arcade-style, and there's always colored markers directing you to your next target or objective. Missions take place in space, as well as on and below the surface of planets, and in one mission, a floaty, cloudy, rocky sky. In contrast, EndSpace keeps the story to a bare minimum. You're a pilot flying 10 combat missions against the Resistance, and that's about all there is to it. A brief description is shown at the mission select screen, with some more information being given to you over the radio during your warp jump in, as well as in mission. You pilot a single ship, but can outfit it with different gun and missile types, which you unlock by earning credits in missions. In EndSpace, you fly only in space in orbit around different planets, debris, and asteroid fields. Compared to Anshar Wars 2, gameplay in EndSpace feels slower and more controlled, which makes it feel more like a space combat simulator. Note that multiplayer support is currently available only for Anshar Wars 2 in Deathmatch, 1 vs All, and Team Conquest modes. EndSpace is expected to have multiplayer support sometime in the near future. In Anshar Wars 2, you control your ship from a third-person perspective by turning your head. Anshar Wars 2 does not require a gamepad, but gamepads are supported. Both the direction of your ship and aim of your weapons is controlled by your head, with your main gun's aim being slightly enhanced to make hitting targets easier. Gamepad support is available, and allows you to perform quick turns so you can sit on the couch and play. In EndSpace, you sit in a cockpit controlling your ship from a first-person view. Without a gamepad, the game plays a bit like Anshar Wars 2 in that you look to fly and use the touchpad to control speed and weapons. However, when playing with a gamepad, you control the ship with the twin analog sticks and look around inside the cockpit while controlling the aim of your main cannon by looking. Targets feel smaller, and there is no aim assist for your main guns, so hitting moving targets means you really have to focus. Both games let you play without a gamepad, but for the sake of arm comfort and playability, I highly recommend using a gamepad for both. Graphics in Anshar Wars 2 are bright, colorful, and slightly cartoonish. Your ships are highly detailed with the environments less so. Weapon and ship damage information are attached to your aiming reticle, so you can always see them easily. Compared to EndSpace, many of the models in Anshar Wars 2 seem blockier and textures seem less detailed. Character portraits are nicely illustrated, and even the skybox backgrounds seem to have an illustrated feel to them. The gameplay stays fast and fluid, and I've only noticed slight slowdown in one occasion. The graphics in EndSpace are darker and more detailed, and in doing so appear more realistic. The inside of the cockpit is gorgeous and displays your ship damage, weapon info, and objectives realistically, although it means you'll have to look around the cockpit to read this stuff. The skyboxes in EndSpace are beautiful and somehow feel much bigger than Anshar Wars 2. When you fly in close to the ships, you can really see the detail as they glimmer in the dead of space. However, with this detail does come some occasional slowdown, particularly when things get especially explodey. Anshar Wars 2 has a lot of music and even more voice acting. The music is orchestral and very well done, and makes the missions feel appropriately epic or foreboding as the situation calls for. Sound effects are equally well done, with lasers and ion cannons pew-pewing nicely, and explosions and rockets being nice and crunchy. The voice acting is extremely well done, conveys the story with emotion, and goes perfectly with the animated look of the graphics and arcade style of play. The only downside to the voice acting is, at times, it seems to go on just a little too long, especially when you're itching to blow something up. Thankfully, you're given the option to skip it if you really want to. EndSpace has no music to speak of, but plenty of ambience. Whether in the hangar outfitting your ship or flying through debris, there's plenty of realistic clanking, howling, and explosion sound effects. Shooting and explosion sounds let you know in what direction and how far away enemies are, and explosions happening near you are especially booming. The little voice work there is comes through your radio and is adequate, but tends to sound quite robotic. Nonetheless, it gets the job done and doesn't interfere with me blasting stuff. In both games, comfort is linked to the method of control. Both Anshar Wars 2 control scheme, as well as the look-to-fly scheme in EndSpace, are very comfortable and minimize motion sickness. I actually can't recall feeling any discomfort in Anshar Wars 2 because of this. You fly all over the map, but you're never disoriented or feeling sick. The default control scheme in EndSpace, and the one I prefer, has you controlling the ship with the analog sticks, so you're free to look around the cabin. This means you can be staring out the right side of the cockpit, then roll 180 degrees and pull up. Do that a few times, and you A, kind of lose track of which way up is, and B, start to feel slightly motion sick. Thankfully, it never gets much worse than this, and you're never just rolling through space, so the discomfort can be minimized. But still, Anshar Wars 2 is the more comfortable game. Both games really throw you into their world, but I would say EndSpace does a better job of immersion. Sitting in the cockpit, you really feel like you're in the vast cold depths of space, with only this thin glass and metal frame around you for protection. Looking out at the ships and debris passing by as you fly high above ringed planets and gas giants, it's really a jaw-dropping experience. And I mean that. My jaw literally dropped open when I first played this game, and I still say it's one of, if not the most immersive games on GearVR, especially when played with gamepad controls. Only Omega Agent does as good a job, but with more discomfort. Anshar Wars 2 simply isn't as immersive in the sense of being in a starfighter. You'll definitely bob and dodge with your head as rockets and debris fly at you, but you're still very aware that you're controlling the ship with your head. I'd love to see a cockpit view play mode for Anshar Wars 2, but I'm not sure it would fit with the playstyle. So what's the verdict? Is there a verdict? Both are mission-based space shooters, but each goes about it in a very different way. Anshar Wars 2 is a fast third-person arcade shooter, while EndSpace is a slower, more realistic space combat shooter, and everything from the graphics to the sound to the control schemes say that loud and clear. Both are complete games well worth the asking price, and I recommend a gamepad to get the most enjoyment out of both. In the end, while Anshar Wars 2 is a blast to play and replay, I find myself coming back to EndSpace more often simply to experience the feeling of sitting in a starfighter cockpit in deep space. It's the most immersive experience I've had on the GearVR yet, and I suspect that for most people, the preference of one game over the other will come down to the playstyle, arcade versus simulator, and the sense of presence. But unless you're especially sensitive to motion sickness, you can't go wrong with either. Thanks for watching. Did you agree with my comparison of Anshar Wars 2 and EndSpace? Was I completely wrong or did I miss something? Leave a comment to let me know what you think. And if you like what you saw, and you want to see more of this, hit the like and subscribe buttons. And if you have a specific request for a review, write that in the comments too. Hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.